Hello, and welcome to Just Say No, the show that spotlights the innovators behind cannabis's newest products and the groundbreaking ideas and people driving the legal cannabis movement. I'm your host, Maria Calabrese, broadcasting on KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, the station that leaves no listener behind. Let's face it. Everyone has questions about cannabis. Are hemp and marijuana the same thing? Will CBD get me high? Do I have to smoke it? Can I get the benefits without the high? Will it interfere with my medications? Is it legal? Where do you even start? For many of us, and myself included, finding clear, trustworthy answers about cannabis after decades of prohibition and misinformation, it often leads to more confusion. Learning about cannabis, it's like picking up a new language, guys. It's much easier with guidance from someone fluent in both cannabis and health sciences, which is what led me to take action, seek out unbiased resources, and bring them together to create Just Say No. And it's also why I am genuinely thrilled. Have we got someone special to meet today, guys? I am so excited to introduce today's guest, Catherine Golden. Hey, Catherine.
Hello.
Catherine is a cannabis-trained registered nurse and the founder and executive director of Leaf 411. Leaf 411 is the go-to resource for consumers, offering reliable guidance from nurses trained in cannabinoid science. In a nutshell, they take the guesswork out of navigating legal cannabis and empower individuals to make informed decisions about their health. Now, what drew me to Leaf 411 is their belief that knowledge is power. Okay, just say no. That's with a K and a W, K-N-O-W. Knowledge is power. In today's world, where so many of us are looking for reliable places or people to turn to for answers to our questions, I can truly say Leaf 411's cannabis-trained nurses, they stand apart as trusted guides to help us consumers start our cannabis journey on the right path. So sit back, relax, as we explore how cannabis can improve our lives and how to choose products and healthcare providers that are right for you, with insights from some of the brightest minds in the industry.
By 2020, Bank of America and Merrill Lynch estimate that will grow to $35 billion. And many experts believe it could eventually reach $200 billion each and every year.
It is my absolute pleasure to welcome Catherine Golden to Just Say No. Catherine, you're not only a registered nurse with extensive clinical experience, but also a passionate leader and advocate in the cannabis space. As the founder and CEO and executive director and mom of Leaf 411, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing free cannabis education and guidance to the public, You've spent over 8 years championing knowledge, integrity, and service excellence in the cannabis industry on the heels of a 28-year career as a registered nurse. You must have started when you were 5, but we'll talk about that later. Welcome, Catherine, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Wow. Well, thank you for that introduction. I just am so thrilled to be here to be able to connect with your audience and hopefully get a lot of their questions answered and provide that knowledge that you talked about. You know, that is what I'm here to do, and I can't wait to get started.
It's amazing. I mean, you are filling an education vacuum and decades, 80 decades, 1937 Marijuana Tax Act, Prohibition, communication void. So, through your work at Leaf 411, you oversee everything from the administration and programming to fundraising and compliance, all while leading a team of senior professionals, which is amazing that you were able to assemble who all share in your mission. So, tell us about your career and your mission.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Where do I start? I'll start. I have been a registered nurse for 28 years and in the cannabis industry for about 8 now. My journey, I think when you talk to anybody in cannabis, especially a medical professional, typically they have a personal story that got them started in looking into the science behind cannabis. And that's what happened with me. So 8 years ago, I was still a non-believer in cannabis as medicine. I actually voted against it when it was up for adult use here in Colorado.
Wow.
I know, and I'm very open about saying that and transparent because I was a working nurse in hospitals and believed the propaganda. I believed what they were saying, that there was no medicinal value to cannabis, and it never worked for me personally when I was in my youth. And so I thought, well, there's no science, then, there's no use for it. So I voted against it. And then 8 years ago, my brother-in-law was suddenly diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and given 2 to 5 years to live. We were extremely devastated. And so he's actually in California. And my sister said, well, we're privileged enough to be able to go to some of the top researchers in California, USC, UCI, and UCLA. And one of them, a female researcher at USC, said, we'll look at cannabis, but we look at it as a last ditch effort because we don't know anything about it. So when she told me that, I said, you know what, I'll look into it because it's so popular here in Colorado. Everybody's talking about it. They're voting for it. It passed, and it's, used medicinally here. Let me look into the validity of this plant. So I went to all of our typical resources that any clinician would look at, PubMed, Science Direct, National Institute of Health, where we look for the black and white science. And when I started looking, I was shocked and actually angered that there is so much science that shows promise with this plant that I started saying, okay, how can I learn more? So as a medical professional, even 8 years ago, as a nurse, I had to just go deep online and try to find where there were courses that I could take to teach me cannabinoid therapeutics or cannabinoid science. So I did that. And I found resources like the American Cannabis Nurses Association, who offered a course at that time called the Medical Cannabis Institute. I took the first courses for medical professionals, and that's where I started my journey. And so doing that, I could start trying to help educate my sister and my brother-in-law on the value of cannabis and integrating that.
Wow. So much to unpack there.
Yeah. So, and a little bit, what I learned is I found, like you just spoke of, the experts in this industry. And the one that I found was Dr. Bonnie Goldstein. And I said, oh, she is top. I can tell from all the science. And she's in California with you. So I made an appointment and I said, I am taking you. I am flying to California. I am taking you to Dr. Bonnie Goldstein.
Wow.
And we are going to have an appointment. And that time, 8 years ago, she's a pediatric physician, but she was seeing adults as well. So thankfully, I was able to get him in with her, and there started his journey. So we are 8 years now, and he is healthy.
Oh.
He's doing every normal thing you would do, and he's still taking his cannabis. They don't know why his kinase inhibitor, this drug that was supposed to only last, I believe it was 18 months, has now lasted 8 years. And
Wow.
so Bonnie guided him on what to use. And then here we are 8 years later, and he's still with us, healthy as ever.
Wow. You're amazing. And nurses, no, you are. You really, it cannot be understated. I cannot tell you how many people, family members included, that I have tried to get in to see Bonnie Goldstein, and they resist. They just resist, and justifiably so, because of the stigma is deep. You're a convert. I call you a cannabis convert, and those are the best, right? We're gonna move the mountain and push it over the line to be rescheduled, because I too am a cannabis convert. I was a child of DARE. I went to law school. This was never on the table. It's a felony, right? It's the devil's weed. And like you, I really wasn't aware of any medicinal value, and being misinformed as well. I thought it really was either something that was dangerous and abused recreationally, or an end-of-life drug, last resort, which is such a shame. It's well, your brother-in-law, it's your brother-in-law, right?
Correct.
It's now, did he take it as an adjunct therapy with traditional oncology treatments, or how did that go?
Yes. So, and that's exactly where the fear is. How do I introduce this? Can I introduce this? So he was able to take it, and he still does, with his pharmaceuticals. So with his oncology medication.
Okay.
So he was in a study program. He couldn't use cannabis at the time because he was in a study program. So that you have to be very careful with that. They don't want anything interfering. But the immunotherapy did not work for him. Actually threw him into liver failure. So he was kicked out of the he was actually kicked out of the study. And that's when we were saying, let's introduce cannabis, and started introducing cannabis. So that's my journey of how I started with, teaching and showing him. And I firmly believe, I wish there was some way I could put a nurse in everyone's little pocket, because
I love it.
They were able to pull me out and say, what can we do? How do we navigate this system? We don't understand healthcare. And then you're telling us about cannabis. And I was able to talk to them about dispensaries, how to purchase, everything that I was trying to absorb and learn at the same time. So, and that's kind of how, I evolved in becoming a cannabis nurse at a clinic, and seeing that not most people, are having trouble affording the out-of-pocket cost for a physician's appointment, and just to even know if cannabis would be suitable for them. So that's how I got starting the nonprofit Leaf 411, because I wanted anyone, no matter what your financial ability is, no matter if you have a smartphone or a landline, to be able to call Leaf 411 and get free guidance if you needed free guidance. And it's grown from there.
Wow. Well, you're remarkable on so many levels. I mean, a whole other episode we can have attorneys on, and we could talk about. I'm still blown away. And I'm thrilled that you are a not-for-profit organization, but at the same time, my heart bleeds for you because the not-for-profit organizations, how are they funded? They're funded with government grants. And as long as this is a Schedule 1 and federally illegal, how has that impacted your funding from the government?
Yeah, we can't apply for
Come
government funding.
on.
We have to rely on foundations and individual giving. And, just to give you a little glimpse into the struggles we have, we probably applied for about, 12 grants last year and got zero, because a lot of foundations are very concerned with their other donors and how they feel about cannabis.
Of course.
So even though we do not touch the plant, and we state that everywhere, we're education only, they still say, well, it's still uncomfortable for us, or you have the word cannabis on your website. So that's a problem. You have a cannabis leaf on your website. That's been a problem. All these little things. So even though we're licensed medical professionals, talking about safe use, safe consumption, we still do not get grants.
And not only that, the wealth of anecdotal evidence that you have and that you can offer, and empirical evidence. I mean, human studies. Look, your brother-in-law, case in point. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. But we just have to, continue to make people aware. The initial reaction is cannabis, no, NO, but we're hoping to reshape that. Your mission, knowledge is power. That's why this is Just Say No with a K, K-N-O-W. We want people to know. Guys, this is not a knee jerk. You can't just say no. I mean, you can, but it's so underutilized. And God forbid, you don't have to wait until you're in a place where Western medicine just doesn't have a solution, which often happens. So
right. And that's where cannabis can lead, is really giving you hope. And that's what we provide, is hope that there's an alternative. People are struggling with pharmaceuticals.
And ironically, I saw a wonderful TED Talk. It was a family practitioner internist who's studying cannabis now. And he was talking about it doesn't only give you hope, but the paradox is, because it's so still a Schedule 1, it gives you control. Because if you're in a state where it's legal, you have control by walking into a dispensary that has more of a old apothecary feel. You're not waiting for the doctor to phone in the prescription to the corporate place. It's that control over and learning how to dose it. It apparently, there are studies that helps patients. Would you say clinically you've seen that?
Yes. I mean, one thing that I'm really telling callers every day is that over the last decade, there's been over 35,000 scientific papers published on National Institutes of Health, PubMed. So when you think about that number, over 35,000
in a decade, 10
papers,
years, just
decade.
The last 10 years.
Just the last 10 years, that, when someone says, I'm sure you heard this, there's not enough science. I mean, that's
all the time. All the time.
That's the repeater language. That's what people who don't want to take the time to actually look just continue repeating, and it's false information.
And it's dangerous information. And it's not based on 10 decades. It's not based on 10 years of 35 studies. It's based on 80 years of propaganda. And, that's a whole other story. But I'm just curious, was your brother-in-law in Colorado as well?
No, California. And that's why I took him to Bonnie
California.
Goldstein.
Okay. And that's where, all right. Well, we're 20 minutes into the show, and I'm in California, and in California, it's 4:20. So, Catherine, you're going to be on the hot seat. We're going to, this is the part of the show where at 4:20, we ask our guests to drop a knowledge bomb. So, are you ready to drop a knowledge bomb for us?
Yep. Let me have it.
All right. Well, in keeping what we were discussing, to anyone out there that is hesitant about using cannabis, or who's genuinely afraid. This misinformation, it is repeat language, and that sticks. And they're genuinely afraid to even suggest it to a loved one, where you suggested it to your brother-in-law. But there are people who would really be afraid to even do that due to the stigma or the fear. What would you say to them if they had you in their back pocket, or today, right now on the show?
Yeah, I would say what we tell people a lot that are nervous and fearful of cannabis is start with the topical, because a topical, you can actually feel something happening. Typically, if you have arthritic pain or you have joint pain, just even putting it on, and even if you felt nothing, but that nothing tells you that it's not scary. And that's where we like someone to start wrapping their mind around that cannabis is not scary.
Interesting. So
actually safe.
even if they don't have a positive result,
Yes.
as long as they don't have a negative one, you're
Correct.
Oh.
Yes.
Ah.
And that's what we tell them. We tell them, even if it's something that they take orally, if you, what we call is start subtherapeutic, and everybody knows the hot term microdose. If you start so low, we tell everyone, such with a tiny little piece of the gummy. You know, we recommend always cutting something in fourths or eighths, because even though we know you're not going to feel anything, that's okay. Because now you start getting comfortable, like, oh, well, I didn't even feel anything. Well, great. Now you know it's not scary. Now you know that you can start climbing up. So even if a topical doesn't feel anything right away, it's just getting them comfortable to try something.
I love it. That's wonderful, wonderful advice. See, I tend to set expectations too high and psych myself out. And I say, oh, well, what if it doesn't work? So I'm not going to recommend a topical to a family member that needs maybe more. But you know what? No, baby steps. It's okay. Recommend the topical. One, they might get some kind of a benefit. And two, as long as they don't have an adverse effect,
Right.
Allah, we've
Then you go to the next step.
Go to the next step. Very, 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 very smart. Well, you know, you were brave, though. You were brave. You were brave to even bringing it up to a family member. So I would say to people, do it, because you'll regret if you didn't, and God forbid, Western medicine no longer has something to work. It's what happened for me. I got to tell you a funny story real quickly, and how I started Green Bee Life. I am a chronic back pain sufferer for over 4 decades. I had a horrific catastrophic car accident after my first year of law school. I had a massive spinal surgery that failed, that left me worse than the car accident. For 4 decades, 4 massive spinal surgeries, hardware that I don't, I can't even describe. Cannabis was not on the table for me. And I could be pretty formidable. So people did not recommend it. Because I used to just say no. But I had a 17-year-old failing dog. And I had a publicist who said, why don't you try cannabis? I had such a visceral response. I was ashamed of myself. I bit her head off. I said, well, why don't we just give her arsenic? And then I caught myself. It was that moment. And I realized, why am I being so harsh? Because interestingly, that was at the same time, about 8 years ago. It was 2016 when Prop 64 was on the ballot in California. And I, unlike you, as much as I didn't understand cannabis, I was going to vote for Prop 64. And I was immediately, people who know me know the bark is worse than the bite. So she pushed back and said, but aren't you voting to legalize it? I was like, I caught myself. I got to look at this. I don't know why I'm having that response. I mean, the dog is in so much pain, and the only way Western medicine knows to stop that pain was a very permanent solution that I wasn't ready to take. So anyway, that's what opened my eyes. So guys, anyone out there, if someone suggests it to you and you are against it, try to just approach it with curiosity. Why would this person who cares for me be suggesting it? Would you say that's good advice, Catherine? Nurse Catherine?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great advice, is just to try it. But, kind of pointing back to what my mission is providing a service that anyone can reach. So that way you have that trusted guidance. And like you said in that great intro, nurses have been voted the most trusted professional, I think in 23 years now. It's either 22 or 23, number one trusted professional. And that's because we give you both sides of it. Here are the benefits and here are the possible challenges or cautions. And now you are an informed consumer. And that's where we come from, is informing you. So as long as you're going to someone who has that guidance, and hopefully, coming to us, we can guide you there and we can give you those resources, then that's taking that first step in consuming safely.
Well, and, you're coming from informing and both sides, but you're coming from through an empathic lens, not just the clinical one. Let's face it, we need the clinicians and the scientists who are merely looking at data and looking at both sides, but nurses have a level of empathy. I've experienced it firsthand, and what I've experienced through my journey and opening up to cannabis is nurses are so much more receptive to wanting to know about it. And my experience with it, where doctors, unless you have the good fortune and you seek out and you call Leaf 411, and we'll get to your directory and your network of medical doctors, but doctors like Dr. Bonnie Goldstein, they're pioneers, they're up and coming. Here, her resident training was in pediatrics, but she'll see adults because there's just a need for healthcare professionals. And I'm really impressed with your member directory. Can you tell us a little bit about your member directory and the members, ranging from physicians to manufacturers to dispensaries?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So when I started Leaf 411, I knew I couldn't just offer a phone number, give guidance, and say, okay, now go find a great dispensary or go find a great clinician or an online product. I needed to give resources. So that's where we go out and we go to some of the brands that are vetted. So anyone that you see on our website is a vetted brand, meaning we've spoke to them, we've looked at their culture, we've made sure they align with us and know that everything is as transparent as it can be. So when you have a dispensary or an online manufacturers, they have to have COA, certificate of analysis, that are available to the public, that the public can ask, that they want to see that so they know what's in their product, what it's been tested for, the potency. We make sure that the dispensaries know that there are going to be patients coming in, even if they're just an adult use store, that they are really wanting to see those patients and wanting to help them in a way that's more warm customer service. We make sure that the clinicians on our website are some of the leaders in the industry, and we'll have other resources for them. So that's how we built our resources, all vetted by our team, making sure that you have somewhere to go. So we're just not kind of giving you guidance and then letting you float out there. We want to point you in the right direction.
That's what's so impressive. And guys, this is the unique value proposition here with Leaf 411. And I haven't found it anywhere else. And I look, and as soon as I find something I'm excited about, I love to share it, because I had a doctor of pain management, a physiatrist, who had said to me at one point, have you tried marijuana? And I was desperate enough with my back, and I had seen the results. I had a favorable outcome with my dog, thank God. I was open. So I said, where, how? And this was my pain management doctor, a medical doctor, an MD, who said, oh, I don't know. I just have some patients who have tried it. I think they grow their own. I don't know where they get it, and it's helped them. And then I said, well, grow your own. And I was immediately, overwhelmed. Said, do you have to smoke it? She said, no. And I don't recommend smoking for lung health. They make a topical. I said, they grow a plant and make a topical. That wasn't I mean, it just shows why we need Leaf 411 and your unique value proposition that you connect the dot. It's not enough to tell somebody to do something. You have to give them the resources to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And finding the resources, guys, don't beat yourself up. If you have a family member or you're looking yourselves and you feel like you're hitting a brick wall, help is here. We've got Catherine, we've got Leaf 411. She's got an incredible network of physicians and nurses. And so anyone listening that's like, wow, I want to get in touch with you, Catherine. I want to talk to Leaf 411. I have questions. How can they reach out? How can they find Reach 411?
Yeah, so you can go to our homepage, leaf411.org. On that homepage, there's a big white button that says click here. That takes you straight to our scheduling software. So you can schedule an appointment right there. Anyone can call our hotline. That was what I first started. I had so many people saying, oh, why aren't you starting with an app? And I said, no, I'm going to go OG. I'm going to go with the 800 phone line because I wanted anyone to be able to call. People who don't have smartphones, people who, are unhoused. I've had people that were in the middle, not even kidding. Within the first year, we had somebody who was on his ranch and he could only get service out in the fields. And he called us to ask about how to use cannabis. And that's what really, proved that that's why I wanted to have this number first. So that is a free hotline number, will always be free. That's for quick questions. How do I get a medical card? How do I schedule an appointment? And then we've grown our programming to now be 30-minute guidance calls. We're growing it again the 1st of February to be 45-minute guidance calls. We ask for a donation, $25. But if somebody can't afford that, no problem. They just leave us a message on our hotline saying, I need a free call. But that's part of what those resources are on our directory. Those companies see the value in educated consumers. So they actually give to Leaf 411 so we can provide free calls to everybody. They have special codes. So that's the only way we can keep our lights on and our doors open is because the cannabis industry, those brands have said, you know what, we want to give to you monthly to ensure that this service stays alive and well.
Phenomenal.
So it's a struggle, but we're doing it, and we're in our 6th year now.
I know. I feel the pain. And then I noticed on your website, that's what you were referring to. Is that the Leaf 411 affordability program for people who have financial hardships?
The affordability program is a program we started a couple of years ago. That one has been put on pause, but everyone gets a free call that needs a free call. That is never part of any program. That's just given if someone needs that. They don't have to be a part of a program. They just simply leave on the hotline that says, I need a free call. I need help. Great. We tell them that they can call any of the directory participants, and those are our supporters, and they will give them their free code as well to call Leaf 411. It's a coupon code. They schedule an appointment. But we make sure we help everyone. We do live by donation. So that's important to, like I said, keep the lights on and the doors open is through donations, because as we spoke about earlier, it's incredibly hard for us to get a grant. So.
Yes. And
yes. So we need,
we just keep advocating. And that's what's amazing with you, because you don't only combine health sciences and an expertise in cannabis, but you're also an advocate as well. And it's going to take a village, and it's going to take educating folk and offering people resources to call, even if they can't afford to, because once people understand it, all politics are local. And once people understand it and demand it, then it will go up the chain, although remains to be seen what the new administration is going to do with at least rescheduling. But as long as it's on a Schedule 1, it's virtually impossible to make money at this. The states and the government are making the money, but well-meaning brands are not. And I'm heartened that the brands who are doing it right and going to try to survive legalization and self-police and do their own, pay the price of compliance, because what this legal ambiguity does, it leaves the door open for not well-meaning companies to come in, which really makes it even more confusing. So the companies that are doing it right and self-policing, being compliant, if they can hang on and survive legalization, that's who you want to support. And I'm glad that they're supporting you, because it starts with the educational platforms, the boots on the ground, the nurses in the pocket, the digital Leaf 411, which is your digital nurse in a pocket. And if anyone wants to support Leaf 411, they can go to leaf411.org, and you do have an area to donate, correct?
Yes, we have an individual giving page where anyone can go and donate anything from $1 on up. And then we also have our business memberships where we're hoping and we would love more industry brands to come and support us. I mean, that's what we would love, is having, we do have some supporters from California. Urban Joy is a delivery service in California, and they support us. So we have them all over, and we need more to survive. So whether you're a brand, or you know somebody, or maybe you go to a favorite dispensary. We tell people that all the time. They say, how can we help? Say, go to your favorite dispensary, go to your favorite brand and say, please support Leaf 411. Because that's how I came to you, being an informed consumer, and knowing what to buy when I walk in the door, and buying smart and buying safely. So that's why we really encourage the industry to want to support us. And we need more.
We absolutely do. And that is great advice for brands. I'm on the marketing and advertising committee of the National Cannabis Industry Association. Guys, you'll be getting a phone call from me. We've got to get behind Leaf 411. It's I say it all the time. As an industry, we're going to succeed together, or we're going to fail individually. And it starts with educating the public. We have to not only educate them, at the end of Prohibition, you can educate people about alcohol and the difference between beer and wine. This isn't just an end of Prohibition. This is decades of misinformation and stigma and paranoia. And so, listen, guys, stay tuned, because in supporting Leaf 411, I want to throw a quick word about them. And when we come back, Catherine's going to share consumer insights and tips on cannabis and how it relates to opioid use and elder care.
Whether you're brand new to cannabis or a longtime user, we know you have questions, and Leaf 411 is here to help. Leaf 411 is a nonprofit that provides free or low-cost cannabis education through our nurse guidance services that can answer your health-related questions like the benefits of CBD versus THC, potential prescription interactions, and the best ratios for pain, sleep, and anxiety. Get your questions answered today. Call us to speak with a cannabis nurse, or visit our website to schedule your call and find ways to support this much-needed public service.
Hey, welcome back. You're listening to Just Say No on KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. I'm Maria Calabrese, your host, and I am joined here with Catherine Golden, who is a registered nurse and cannabis expert. We're We're discussing trending questions about how to consume cannabis safely and responsibly to enhance your well-being. Catherine is the founder of Leaf 411, which began with the first ever cannabis nurse hotline. So Catherine, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I really appreciated the free opioid guide. I mean, there's a plethora of resources on your site, but can you speak to us a little bit about opioids? And
Yes,
yeah.
I would love to. So a company called Puff Creative and Ninth Block, it's both marketing companies, said, you know what, we really need to publish an opioid awareness guide, and came to us, and which was wonderful, and wanted to put some data, some information from the CDC about opioids and overuse and misuse, and then cannabis and how cannabis can be integrated into your pharmaceutical regimen and start helping to replace some of the heavy use of opioids. And that's what we talk about in this opioid awareness guide, is the different types of pain. And gosh, when I started the hotline, I was the only one on the calls. I started it by myself, and I'm like, I'm going to take calls. I know, that's how passionate I was about it. I'm like, I gotta be a pocket nurse for everybody. And it was heartbreaking to hear that there is so much physical and mental pain happening across the country. And that's our number one topic. It's physical and mental pain. So people are just looking for another solution, another alternative. So they want to know, like, how can I soften the pain just to get through daily activities and reduce my opioid use? And that's very safe to do with cannabis. And that's another one of those kind of repeater misinformation that some physicians or nurse practitioners or PAs or any clinician might use that doesn't really want to look at the science and just says, oh, there's not enough science, or I don't think it's safe to combine the two. That's absolutely not true. It's incredibly safe, and you can start reducing your opioids with your prescriber's guidance once you start learning and seeing that the science is there, that cannabis is very effective for pain. You have to know which ratios would be best. And once you learn that, is what something we can teach, what the nurses on Leaf 411 can teach. Then you know how you can use it in conjunction with your regimen. And with pain, typically comes with inflammation, and then the pain receptors. And what the number one thing people are taught is that CBD helps with inflammation, and THC touches those pain receptors. So when you put both together, then you've got your gold standard. And that's usually what people start saying, oh, you need a 1-to-1 CBD THC ratio. And that's a good starting point. And we start giving just some of those little tidbits of guidance to say, okay, here's where you start. Here's a good ratio. And this is why CBD is great for pain. And this is why THC is great for pain. And this is why they're great. They're even better together, and why you should use them together. And now we've got even minor cannabinoids like CBG that's great for neuropathic pain and neuropathy. Some people know it as neuropathy that they get from using from if they've been an oncology patient. So all kinds of different forms of pain. And then there's mental health pain. And what we can use, which is fantastic for mental health pain, is the CBD, which helps kind of balance the body and bring a relaxation to the body, helps decrease anxiety. So there's just so much we can go into, and that's why we created the opioid awareness guide. So just to give you the starting information that cannabis is safe to use, and we wish it was a first line medicine versus a last line medicine. And that's kind of what we advocate for, is, it's really safe to try cannabis because there's very few receptors in the brainstem. So there's no lethal dose of cannabis. So somebody could take an entire canister of gummies and eat that accidentally, and they won't go into cardiac arrest. They won't have respiratory depression like you can with opioids. It's just not possible.
We'll have another episode, but my last spinal surgery, which was in January of 2020, right before COVID, I did not wake up. what did you call it? Opioid respiratory.
Respiratory depression.
I went from the recovery room to a critical care unit to pretty scary stuff. Pretty scary stuff. And it's real. It's real. So, what are some of the kinds of conversations you're having with people who call in who are reliant on opioids? Or what kind of questions are they or concerns are you hearing surrounding trying cannabis?
Well, the number one question is how can they start cannabis and start reducing the amount of opioids they consume? And that's where we start. So one thing we always like to enforce is you never want to just throw away your prescription medicine. It's just start cannabis. It's not, the one product you can take and it cures all. And that's what a lot of people, that's another misconception. You want to integrate them together, use them synergistically.
Is there a danger of interaction?
No. So there's no, so this is another little tidbit that a lot of people are really nervous about drug to drug interactions.
Yeah.
Can I take cannabis with X, Y, or Z prescription? The answer is almost always yes. It's just dose dependent, meaning it depends on the dose of cannabis you take. When we get concerned about the amount of cannabis you take, it's usually in the triple digits. Oh, you're taking 100 milligrams of CBD a day, 200, 300, then there's a concern. But when you're taking the doses that are over the counter, suggested serving size, 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams, there's never a concern for a drug to drug interaction because it's too low. So that's where you always want, and you need this guidance from a medical professional to tell you that it's dose dependent. Everything is dose dependent. It depends on how many milligrams you're taking of cannabis versus what you're taking, what prescription medication you're taking. So we like to tell everybody that it's not contraindicated. When something's contraindicated means you can't take it together. But there's cautions, meaning that it can affect the way the prescription medication is, the blood level of it in your body. All you have to do is check those blood levels. And that's where you get your primary doctor involved to say, hey, I'm taking cannabis now. So can we please check the blood levels of prescription X, Y, or Z? That's very simple for them to do.
Yeah,
and that's when you start getting everybody together.
And guys, don't be discouraged. If your primary doctor is like, no, then call Lee 411, please. Catherine, please give Lee 411 a call. You will help them find a primary doctor in their area. Is that how it would work? Who could help them?
Well, so what we do, if they're looking for a cannabis clinician in their area, there's a really great resource, the Society of Cannabis Clinicians, SCC, and they're a nonprofit as well. All you do is type in your zip code and you will see if there's trained cannabis clinicians in your area.
Now, what if you're in a state where it's not legal? Can someone from a state that's not legal, for instance, try to get a telemedicine appointment with Dr. Bonnie Goldstein in California?
No, because usually you have to see them in person. Yes. So as a physician has, in order for them to take you into their practice, they have to physically see you and do an in-person assessment.
Sure.
But
and yeah,
there's telehealth, there's telemedicine, and then there's telehealth. So there are physicians that you can call from another state that won't give you exact dosing, but they'll give you suggestions. They'll give you education.
Okay, but you wanna see a doctor. So if you're in a state where it's not legal, like you did with your brother-in-law, took him. Well, Colorado was legal, but you took him. Well, he was in
California.
California, but if he wasn't, you would have just taken him to California. I have a feeling.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's what a lot of the physicians will say. And that's the heartache is that there's a lot of people can't afford it just to up and move. I mean, we've had a lot of people move to different legal states because they want to get that medicine.
Wow.
And that's where when you have them leave, or you can just go up, you can visit with a doctor, see that doctor in person for the first time, get into their private practice, and then you go back to your state, and then they can correspond with you telehealth in
Yeah.
telehealth days.
Yeah. Ricky Lake did a wonderful documentary. I'm sure you saw it. We the People. Did you see? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Dr. Bonnie Goldstein was featured in that. And it showed people with pediatric cases having to, that's what you do. You have a child that's Western medicine doesn't have an answer. And when you actually get into the science and start talking and having conversations and listening to conversations with people like Catherine Golden, it just, when you have that aha moment, you're off and running, because it's got so much potential. And with all the money that the government spent, and like you said, there's 35,000 studies over the last 10 years. But prior to that, what galls me is so much money was spent on research to justify the Schedule 1 and find out what the heck was wrong with it and prove that it was dangerous. And they couldn't. So, yeah, well, I really think that that's wonderful. And do you know are you familiar with Dr. Yasmin Hurd out of Mount Sinai in New York? She's a psychopharmacologist from Jamaica,
Okay.
but she's studying the effects of CBD and THC on opioid addiction. She's a wonderful research. People can look her up, Dr. Yasmin Hurd, Hurd. We will have her on the show page among research sources. Initially, she wasn't sure CBD would be so helpful and thought you needed THC, but now she's finding high doses, and it's all about the doses and the entourage effect and mixing
It's
them.
about the doses. Yeah.
But the exciting thing is, in episode 3, we did a podcast with Dr. Manesh Gurn. He's a neuroscientist. He's out of UC San Francisco, out of Dr. Robin Carthart's lab. They're studying the effects of psychedelics and cannabis on the brain and brain health. And this is a great segue, because they had a lot to say about it for opioid addiction. And what was very compelling to me and exciting was that there's actually evidence now with CT scans showing that it doesn't just suppress the addiction, but it actually heals the part of the brain, the amygdala, and they're actually seeing bioplasticity and healing take place of the damage that was done from the opioid, which was very exciting. But they also studied and talked about dementia and Alzheimer's, and phones are ringing off the hook. We've had so many questions coming in, and Catherine, the majority of them, a lot of people are interested in, of course, how could it help with chronic pain? How could it help with mental anxiety, depression? We had a chance to just scratch the surface on that. Big topic, opioids, and I've got to get to elder care. I have people, I've got so many questions coming in saying, and I don't even want to ask you this, but the first question on elder care is, does Medicare cover it?
We wish it did. We wish it did, and hopefully it will someday. But there are states that are working on programs. I'm actually working on a program here in the state of Colorado. We have a patient that we're covering her medical cannabis to try to reduce her opioid use. And so there are states that are working on allowing insurance to cover the medical cannabis. So it's coming. There's light at the end. We can see it, and it's coming. And there's people all in different states working on this. You just don't hear about it yet because our programs haven't grown as much yet. It's slow because you have to get so many people on board to accept to do this. But no, there's different things that you can look at. You can look at maybe getting your card covered, your medical card. You can look at getting maybe some of the medicine covered. It depends on what programs you're in. You would have to look into your states. But what I really want to talk about for the older adults, and you mentioned it, Maria, was the heartache. We've been working with a program that focuses on the dementia care and dementia caregivers, and the heartache they have at home, because on average, about 75% of dementia patients are cared for in the home. 75% are in the
Is that
home.
right?
Mhm.
75%.
And
Well, and if you're in a long-term care facility, they use their own pharmacies, so that would be a whole other barrier.
that's harder.
But I didn't realize 75% were, wow. Please
They're in the
continue.
home because it's expensive. So expensive to put your loved one in a facility. So they've either promised their loved one that they will never put him in a facility, so they keep them at home and care for them there, or they can't afford it. So now the beautiful thing is now they do have the autonomy to introduce
Right.
cannabis into their regimen, and that's what we've been helping with. And oh my word, if you could see what these low doses of CBD, THC, and CBG, cannabigerol, have helped with the dementia behaviors, the aggressiveness, the agitation, the abusive. Some of them get very abusive to their caregivers. It just
Sure.
calms everything down.
Now,
So
is
it's
there
beautiful.
a prescription for that, like of regular medicine, and how would it compare the efficacy?
So that's what's interesting. So even the FDA warned about using antipsychotics, and unfortunately, antipsychotics
Mm.
meds are widely prescribed for dementia patients because they just don't know
Oh.
what else to use. Um, and
Oh.
now we are showing that we're using cannabinoids. So low dose CBD with THC for daytime, and low dose CBG with THC for nighttime. Healer. So I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Dustin Sulak out of Maine. He is phenomenal.
He's in your member directory. That's
He is in our member
that's where
directory.
I heard about him. I've just learned
Yes.
about him through Leaf 411.
Yes. So Dr. Dustin Sulak out of Maine, he helps formulate the products of healercbd.com. And what he noticed in his practice, and he still has a practice, over 3,000 patients in Maine, he noticed that he was seeing the dementia behaviors really start to subside with a combination of THC and CBD in the daytime and CBG and THC at night. So he helped create this beautiful blister package that's easy to pop out one gummy, know exactly how to give it to your loved one, because 75% are cared for in the home. So that your sister, brother who's taking care of your mom or dad needs help. And how do I dose this? How do I know what to give? So they've created this respite product that is just easy to give to your loved one. And then they also give instructions on, well, if they're in a facility, how do you ask that facility's clinicians to write an order for cannabis? So that's what we're trying to do, is help facilities understand that it's also easy to write an order for cannabis.
It's phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. And Catherine, anyone who wants to find out more information about that, please go to leaf411.org. I can't believe nearly an hour has flown by. I really hope you'll come back and bring some of your member directory. I mean, we have so many things to talk about. This has been the most wonderful conversation. The work you and your team do at Leaf 411, it empowers patients, caregivers, and healthcare professionals with the knowledge that they need. And every one of those groups are suffering either mentally or physically. And if we have something that can help ease that pain, that's, so I can't thank you enough for your dedication to the patient advocacy and education. It's making a real difference. And guys, everyone here and everyone I bring into the hive, we're pioneers, but I say it over and over again. What happened to the pioneers? Pioneers get shot, the settlers get the gold. Please, you've got to support the well-meaning pioneers, because this is a precious plant. It's underutilized. And as we conclude today's episode of Just Say No, it's important to recognize the need for these voices that empower you with the information that you need to navigate. So, Catherine, thank you for sharing your valuable insights, highlighting the importance of organizations like yourself, your members, Leaf 411. You're bridging the gap between traditional medicine and cannabis science. And guys, if people like Catherine, myself don't do it, no one's going to do it. And people are suffering mentally and physically. And once you realize that it can be avoided or alleviated, you'll join the green revolution. It's not a green rush. It's a revolution. So anyone listening who has questions, or a loved one who has questions about cannabis, please reach out to Leaf 411. You can call them. You go to their website, leaf411.org, or call them at 844-LEAF-411, 844-LEAF-411. And I created Just Say No to serve as a network of people connected through cannabis rather than a cannabis network with people. I truly, truly appreciate the opportunity to share and highlight the smartest minds in the industry and the bravest with you. And I thank you for being a part of the Green Bee Life Hive. To everyone listening, a big thank you for tuning in today. Your curiosity and desire to learn, it's what fuels these conversations that are going to propel change. And I appreciate you taking the time to explore cannabis with us today. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this with someone who might benefit from this information. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and as always, just say no. That's with a K and a W. KNOW. This is Maria Calabrese signing off from KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, the station that leaves Leafs, LEAF, no listener behind. See you next time. Just Say No is a Green Bee Life presentation airing live weekly on Friday afternoons from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific on KCAA Radio and KCAA TV. Archived audio episodes are on Green Bee Life, greenbeelife.com, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and most third-party major platforms. For archived videos, check them out on GBL TV, on Green Bee Life, YouTube, and Rumble. To follow us, our Instagram and Facebook is at Just Say No Radio. To apply to be a guest on the show or for sponsorship and advertising opportunities, go to greenbeelife.com/Just Say No, and feel free to reach out to me, Maria, for any questions. I'm at maria@greenbeelife.com, or call me at 818-758-6925.